Seriously, I know why they're doing this now. It's the summer, it's the end of July. If you're in America, it's like peak vacation season. People aren't paying attention, but I'm asking you, if you don't watch any of my other videos today, I guess I wouldn't know if you didn't watch this one, but this one needs your interaction, needs you to leave a like on it, needs you to share it on your social media. This is important. YouTube has now been thrown into, and I assume every other video platform has been now thrown into the list of applications that will be banned for anyone under the age of 16. Now you might think, well, who cares? I think social media is bad for young people, and I agree with you. I think, however, this needs to be mitigated, litigated, enacted in the household by the parents, not the government. And what's happening is in 3 different nations right now, Australia, kind of the tip of the spear. What's happening in Australia right now, you can expect to be in Europe in a month or 2, and then in the United States in 6 months. There are varying forms of each bill in each nation that I need to go through, because this is how the government is going to enact digital ID and ultimately social credit score. If you don't think that's how it is, please give me 12 minutes of your time to explain. First, YouTube has now been included in Australia's teen social media ban. Now you might be thinking, well, I don't live in Australia. Why do I care? Well, because it's the exact same legislation that's going on in the UK and Europe with the Online Safety Act, and in the United States with the Kids Online Safety Act, known as KOSA. All of this stuff is going on at the same time right now, globally. And when you start enacting, you're having big tech, have people's identifications to prove your ID, prove your age. We just saw that one app that got exposed with, 70,000 driver's license or whatever like that getting put out there. This is huge. Remember, KOSA is right here in America. Same thing. Reject online censorship. Tell lawmakers to oppose KOSA. KOSA won't make the kids safe. Instead, it puts youth in danger by preventing them from accessing resources they need. Concern about young people's harm from big tech are valid and real, but enabling censorship that harms the most marginalized kids. Again, the left and right are working together on this, but the issue is the same. The KOSA bill in the United States will allow the government to pressure social media platforms to erase content that could be deemed inappropriate for people under the age of 18. The problem is there's absolutely no consensus on what exactly is inappropriate for them. All across the country, we're seeing how lawmakers are going after young people's access to gender-affirming healthcare. No, I don't support any of that. Kids should not be going for that. But again, this is the left saying, but this is for LGBT. But on the right, you have to understand KOSA as well. Look at Spotify right now. We need to check your age. To access certain contents on Spotify, we need to make sure you're 18 or older. One of the best accounts to follow is Reclaim the Net, because they're always on the first and foremost on that. 1 hour ago, France is criminally investigating X. Prosecutors want access to the platform's algorithm and real-time data, citing complaints about Musk's ownership and alleged bias for content mediation. Just yesterday, I talked about Jim Jordan, U.S. politician, talking about how the UK was trying to intimidate Rumble and say that they'll be watching them, that they want them to comply with the Online Safety Act. This is bonkers. New internal emails reveal that Ofcom, Britain's media regulator, has been quietly pressuring US-based firms like Rumble and Reddit to obey the UK censorship law. I did a video on this yesterday. Nobody watched it. It bombed. It got like 30,000 views. No one cares. I'm imploring people to start caring. Here's what's going on in Australia. YouTube banned Looms as Australia's woke chief censor gets her way. YouTube faces strict new age restrictions after being swept into Australia's looming social media crackdown by the e-Safety Commissioner. What does this mean? Well, now it means that the government will be working hand in hand with social media, not just YouTube, but X and Rumble and everything else, to tell people what they're allowed to see. Now, on top of that, how will they actually enforce this? Well, if you want to have access to the internet, you're going to have to give them your ID, your personal information. Now, big tech will be the gatekeeper of everything online, and we know just how honest and trustworthy big tech is. A dramatic policy reversal will now see YouTube included in Australia's upcoming ban on under 16s holding social media accounts, setting the stage for a potential high court showdown with Google, the Google-owned platform. Again, you hear Australia, you think, who cares? Haha, kangaroos and drop bears. But the reality is, this is the legislation that's setting the rules for what's happening right now in the UK and the United States. Communications Minister loser Anika Wells will officially unveil the decision today after receiving advice last month from the e-safety commissioner, shouldn't even be a role, recommending that YouTube be subject to the same restrictions as platforms like TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram. Under the new rules, which come into effect this December, YouTube and other major platforms will be legally required to take reasonable steps to prevent persons under 16 from creating or holding an account. Logged out viewing will still be allowed, but users under 16 will be barred from uploading videos, posting comments, or receiving personalized content. Wells claims that the decision would help reduce the persuasive and pervasive influence that social media has over kids and provide peace of mind to parents. No, 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 no. What this is the government wants to raise your kids. It's bad enough when you have leftoids trying to trans your kids, but this is the government wants to raise your kids.
The Albanese government has announced it will include YouTube in its social media ban for under 16s. While the decision will be welcomed by many, it's a move that won't sit well with Google, which threatened to sue the government if its popular video platform was included in the ban. Despite a last-ditch attempt by Google to avoid it, the Prime Minister has confirmed YouTube will be subject to Australia's world-first under-16s social media ban.
Do you think, leave a like on the video right now, please, if you haven't yet, and please put this video on your Facebook, on your X account, share it. People need to wake up. They're doing this in the dead of summer while nobody's paying attention. I don't know what else I can do. Like, I'm literally going to do paid advertising of this video. But people need to understand what's happening. They're going to not only ban these things because the government wants to raise your kids, but the only way they're going to know if you're old enough is if you give them your ID, right? So now everybody's ID is going to be stored in a central location. How convenient for the government. Now you might be saying, hey, I don't want to use the internet. Well, I guess you're probably not watching this video then. The government will store everybody's ID because they're going to need a central database, right? Then what happens? Well, that's the first step to digital ID. And you may not be a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist like me, but if you look at nations like China, where they have a literal social credit score, what's that tied to? Your digital ID. Like places like China literally limit the hours you can play video games. They limit, if you've said something bad about the government, they'll limit your travel, right? Does that sound like the world you want to live in America or the UK or in Australia? This is the first step to that.
Platform joins the likes of Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok and X, which will be required to take responsible steps to prevent underage account holders onto their services. Failure to do so could result in fines of up to $49.5 million from December 10, which is when the social media minimum age law comes into effect. The decision to include YouTube has been
Also understand this. This affects people who want to browse anonymously, right? So now if you don't want the government to have your contact, you don't want to have, you don't want to give them your information, you have to access content on YouTube. They haven't mentioned Rumble yet, but let's assume Rumble's going to be part of this. If you're going to host video online, you're going to have to give your ID to watch it, and nobody's paying attention while they're doing this. Again, the UK has the Online Safety Act, the exact same thing. The United States has the Kids Online Safety Act. Go ahead and Google it. KOSA, K-O-S-A, right? The left and the right. What you need to know about the Kids Online Safety Act, where it currently stands. The Kids Online Safety Act will make the internet worse for everyone. Blumenthal's KOSA faced pushback from LGBTQ activists. Well, yeah, we know why they want the kids to get their information. KOSA's back. This is in June 4. It's still controversial. They're trying to push this through because it is the vector of attack that gets them your identification, that gets them all of your information, that forces you to fill out, to give your ID to the government where, they can raise your kids and they can control what you can and can't see on the internet. Want to watch a new music video? Well, they have a curse word in it. So all the website platforms who host it say that you have to give them your ID to do so. We're already seeing Spotify. Just showed you Spotify's rolling this. This stuff is happening now. What can you do? Well, right now it's about raising awareness. The word needs to get out there that this stuff is happening, and people need to stop pshawing away the fact that it's in Australia and the UK, because I just showed you it's in the United States too. Once Australia gets this passed, and they will, because Australia is lost. Sorry, my Aussie viewers. We all saw during the COOF lockdowns how bad it is for freedom there. I will take 2 Aussies. They must be blonde and female and exclusively wear sundresses. But I will provide refuge to you here in Wisconsin. But there are no drop bears here. However, and by the way, that goes for the guys too. If you're willing to wear a sundress, welcome. In the UK and Australia, we see this, right? And in America, we're like, well, we got Trump in, so it's not going to be as bad. Well, KOSA is still getting, they've been trying to cram KOSA through since 2022. Okay. And 2000 and, just the other, Texas right now is enacting a social media ban. Oregon has already enacted a social media ban. But again, how do you enforce it? Well, you have to give the government your identification, which I strongly oppose, and I hope you do too. I hope you're informed by this video. I hope it wakes you up, and I hope that you subscribe or follow, and we'll talk to you again real soon.